seekers. ജോലി ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു കൂട്ടം ആൾക്കാരുണ്ടായാലാണല്ലോ ജോലി ഉണ്ടാവുള്ളൂ. So from the people who are coming out of college, the fresh minds, from them there should be a cream of people who would be creating jobs. So that is the relevance of this question. If you are interested in this entrepreneurship, then whatever that I'm going to say for the rest of the session might make sense for you. Otherwise also I would like to take this session more like of a story. Kind of a technical session, I don't know whether it will make sense in a fine evening where you would like to have some tea and some snacks and enjoy, right? So so this was the first thing that I wanted to make it very clear to set the context. So what I am going to take you through is more towards how this entire entrepreneurial journey can be crafted. Okay, you know that it is very subjective, like for each one the story would be different, but here today I'll be sharing my story and try to draw parallels on how what are things that you can focus if you're planning to do and start a venture from the ideation to execution. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I am just guessing it is making sense. Okay. All right. So saying this, I think I can start with the story. So today it's the story time. So വൈകുന്നേരം നിങ്ങൾ ഏതായാലും ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ തന്നെ there are only few people who are interested in say entrepreneurship, but I would imagine some of you would be interested in story. So എത്ര പേർക്ക് കഥ കേൾക്കുന്നത് ഇഷ്ടമാണ്? If I could get a response in the comment box, that would be great. If you like to hear a story, then I can go on with the story. Okay, thank you, Sumit. Okay, so I'll start off with the story. So നിങ്ങൾക്കൊരു ഫെയറിനെ കാണാം, right? You can see a fairy in the screen. I would imagine my screen is visible. So this is actually a fairy tale. Okay, it's a fairy tale. So this is that fairy tale. So ഇതൊരു കെട്ടുകഥയല്ല. This is not a fictional story. This is a real story. And ഇതിലെ കഥയും കഥാപാത്രങ്ങളും it's in and around Kochi from Kerala. So this is my entrepreneurial journey. So this journey started like 9 years back in 2013. So right after the college, myself and 5 other friends, 6 of us decided to start a company. Okay, so so this entire story is made in the foundation of friendship and technology. So these are the 2 key things that laid the foundation for the story. So I have a question to the people who are here, okay, in the call. The question is, you see the name Reafy Technologies. This is the name of my company. So Reafy, the name Reafy. So can you find another word from that name, Reafy? So do you know what it means? Like, if you know if you can give your luck, you can try commenting on your comment box. So can you find? Yes, I got an answer called fairy. Okay. Yes. So starting in it's a fairy tale. Yes. So Reafy is an anagram of fairy. Okay. അപ്പോൾ ഞങ്ങളൊക്കെ 90s kids ആണ്. We born in 90s. Okay. So we believe in those fairy tales. ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ദേവത വന്ന് ഒരു അനുഗ്രഹം തരിക, or such fairy tale kind of a story. So that's why the name Reafy. It's an anagram of fairy. So we believed in creating magic using technology. Okay. So ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു from the starting, like there are 2 things that laid the foundation of this entire story. That is, one is friendship, the other was the technology. So so we were friends since school time. Okay. School we like known each other for 20 plus years. So college so when we were in college, so there was a online quiz that was happening in the college as a part of a tech fest. Okay, so my friends were creating that quiz. So you know what, how online quiz works, right? So the quiz will have a question and you can give the answer. If you're giving the right answer, you go to the next stage. If you're giving the wrong answer, you'll be stuck in that stage. So ഈ സ്റ്റോറിയുടെ അകത്ത് വേറൊരു സ്റ്റോറി ഉണ്ട്, വിച്ച് ഇസ് എ ബിരിയാണി സ്റ്റോറി. ഈ ക്വിസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ട് രാത്രി ബിരിയാണി കഴിക്കാനായിട്ട്, സോ വി ട്രാവൽ ടു നിയർ ബൈ പ്ലേസ് കോൾഡ് അങ്കമാലി. സോ മിഡ് നൈറ്റ് ടൈം, it's very hot. There is one hotel that serves food at midnight. We ordered biryani. So at that time, one of the friend asked this question, like, bro, why don't you make the quiz talk back? So the problem with the quiz was, if you're giving a wrong answer, you don't know what went wrong. So you keep on trying, right? So there were people who have tried like 2000 times in a single stage to get past to the next stage. So we like the idea. So why don't we make the quiz talk back like a teacher? Okay. So the idea is like, if the question is like, who's the highest run scorer in ODI cricket, the answer, if someone gives the answer Sourav Ganguly, the quiz will talk back. Sorry, the answer is not Sourav Ganguly, but they used to open the batting for India together. Okay. So you might be knowing the answer, right? So it's the answer is Sachin, but even if you give a wrong answer, it will tell you the relation between the right answer and the wrong answer. Okay. So that's how it started. Then it becomes a system. It became a system that can answer about anything and everything. It can find relation and the strongest relation between anything. So we built into a system, and for a final year project, we created a relational intelligence system that can say find relation between entities. So there was an interesting question that came at that point of time. So someone asked, what is the relationship between Aishwarya Rai, you know Aishwarya Rai, right? Then the 1,000 rupee Indian currency. Back then there was 1,000 rupees. It was not yet banned. Okay. So then baseball. So they asked three things and asked to find the relation between these three things. So anyone in today's session, can you try your luck? What would be the potential relationship between these three? Either you can unmute and say, or you can type, whichever you feel comfortable. Aishwarya Rai, 1,000 rupee Indian currency, and baseball. What is the relationship between these three? So my baby niece, when I asked this question, she said Aishwarya Rai bought a baseball by paying 1,000 rupees. So it can be a possible relationship. I don't know. So any guess? Any wild guess? Okay. So I'll give you the answer. So Aishwarya Rai was the brand ambassador of Debius Diamonds, which is one of the leading diamond brand. So the 1,000 rupee Indian currency, back then it had a diamond symbol in the backside to check for the counterfeit. Okay. And the baseball is played on a pitch called baseball diamond. So diamond was the strongest relationship between these three, which we didn't know, which the system came up with, and which is the strongest of these three entities. So by that time, we were very sure that this is something that going to make a change in the world. So we found something. It was a eureka moment for us. So college കഴിഞ്ഞു. So college, so it was a time back in 2012. Okay. So back then there was a lot of placements at that time. So we were all placed in some or the other college. I mean, industries, some of the companies. So, but we wanted to try this tech and try to build something on top of this tech. And none of us were entrepreneurs. So what happened right after the college? We went for patenting this technology. We received the patent. Then during patent filing, there is something called like prior art searching, like finding companies who have similar patents. Okay, so we found that companies like Apple, Google, uh, and Microsoft have similar patents. Where Apple had something called iTunes, where it has music, so it recommends which music that people would purchase based on something similar. Then Google used to serve ads with a similar kind of a tech, and Microsoft had called Bing Search. So in that, how they find things is something similar. All these things were different, but on the similar spectrum. These were the three companies. So I would imagine most of you are students. So നിങ്ങൾ കോളേജിൽ പഠിക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങളൊരു ടെക് ഉണ്ടാക്കി. So you build a tech, and when you go and file for a patent and you see that it is something that Apple, Google, and Microsoft has, so you could imagine how we felt, right? നമ്മൾ ക്ലൗഡ് നയനിലായിരുന്നു. So we thought like, okay, we are going to change the world. ഇനി നമ്മളിപ്പോ ഇവിടെയൊന്നും അല്ല എന്നുള്ള സീനായിരുന്നു. So what happened was, with this we go and started to talk about the tech. We have a fantastic tech, and it is going to transform the world, this and that, and uh, no one uh, no one say spare even time to listen to it, because they thought that we are crazy. And being very young, and talking about this artificial intelligence and all, uh, at that point of time was very crazy. നിങ്ങൾക്കത് മനസ്സിലാവണമെങ്കിൽ, to understand it much more further, I would like to ask a question. How many of you have a smartphone? നിങ്ങൾ എത്ര പേർക്ക് സ്മാർട്ട് ഫോൺ ഉണ്ട്? Can you type comment? If you have smartphone, you can say yes. If it is no, you can say no. Yes. Right. I think a lot of people, I think almost everyone have that smartphone, right? I don't think any of you won't have a smartphone. So back then, if you ask the same question, ഞാനിപ്പോ പറയുന്ന time is just 9 years back, but this question is asked at that point of time. uh, there are no people with a smartphone, maybe one or two with their, who are fortunate to have, maybe have a rich background, or friends who are outside, because the best phone that you'd be having at that point of time is a Nokia with a QWERTY keyboard, right? So other OS, no Android or iOS phones. So when India not yet have an iPhone, where iPhone was launched in 2008, and India, for that to come, it took like almost 4 to 5 years to get some iPhone, and only very few people were using. And Android OS were launching by that time, but India smartphone market started by 2013. So സ്മാർട്ട് ഫോൺ പോലും ഇല്ലാത്ത സമയത്താണ് നമ്മൾ എഐനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയാൻ പോണത്. So it was too early to have that conversation at that point of time. So ഇത് കഴിഞ്ഞു, ഞങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരും വന്നു. We were together in one of my friend's place, the one who you can see on the screen, Mr. John. So John's house is in Angamadi, so we all stayed in his house and we were brainstorming what to do. And we launched our first app called Cookbook Recipes in 2013. So the idea behind Cookbook Recipes was that, so we had a beautiful tech. You cannot go and talk tech, but can we use something simple that people can understand using this technology? So that was the thought process. So അങ്ങനെയാണ് we launched our first app called Cookbook. So everyone loves to eat or see food, right? So there were a lot of cookery shows that were been successfully running through different TV channels at that point of time. So we made a recipe app that helped people to cook food that they love. Then it got evolved into something. So the recipes that you see in the cookbook is very tailored for the user. It is very much customized. So in the morning, if you are having dosa and tea, the ideal recipe that you get on dinner is very much related to a recipe that a person who would eat dosa and tea for the morning, right? So a lot of intelligence was there behind, but at the top, it was just like a simple app that can give recipes that people love to cook. Okay, so we launched this in 2013. Then we started to gain users. So it was growing like anything. So within 1.5 years, we got a call from Google on one fine day. So this is another story. So we were planning to go to Hyderabad. So how many of you are movie fans here? Like who like to watch movies? Anyone who is interested in movies? ആരെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടോ ഈ കൂട്ടത്തില്? If it is there, you can type yes. മൂവി താല്പര്യമുള്ള ആരുമില്ല. So, but we were very interested in movies at that point of time. So, അന്നാണ് the movie Interstellar was going to release, and we wanted to see it in IMAX. Okay, Prasad IMAX in Hyderabad, so which is the biggest, apparently the biggest at that point of time in India. So we wanted to watch it there, that experience. And again, it's a Christopher Nolan movie, so we were planning to go there via road. We wanted to drive and go. So ഈ സമയത്താണ് ഗൂഗിളിന്റെ സൈഡിൽ നിന്നുള്ള കോൾ വരുന്നത്. So we all went to the Mumbai office of Google. So they wanted to know what we are doing and things like that. So they said that our product is very innovative in the market. So Google have this culture of promoting, new and innovative stuff in their store. So we launched the app and put it on Google Play Store, and it was gaining traction. At that time, we got the call from Google. And in the next year, in 2015, one remarkable thing happened. So we were the first company from India to be showcased on Google I/O. So Google I/O is the international conference that is hosted by Google. So in 2015, we became the first company from India to be showcased on Google I/O. So അതിന്റെ ഒരു ക്ലിപ്പാണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇവിടെ കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നത്. So I have shown the pointer in the screen where the Timothy Jordan, who was the Googler at that point of time, who was featuring Cookbook for ubiquitous computing. So along with Cookbook, there were two other apps. One was WhatsApp. You all know WhatsApp. The other one was iHeartRadio. Okay, iHeartRadio is a very popular app in US. So ഈ രണ്ട് ആപ്പുകളുടെ കൂടെ ubiquitous computing എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സെഷനിൽ, ubiquitous computing means giving same user experience across all kind of screens. So our app was on smartphone. Then we launched it on smart TV. It was the first cooking app on Android TV. Then it was also on smartwatch. So providing user experience across all screens was the reason why we got featured on Google I/O. So this happened in 2015. So it was a first time thing, right? So for us, that was a very pivotal moment, because from starting in 2013, where people were not ready to buy in our idea of our technology, from there being showcased, became the first company in India to be showcased on Google I/O was a dream come true thing for us. So it was like it gives us an immense responsibility that we have to do better, right? So at that point of time, since then, for the next 5 Google I/Os, RIA5 was featured. One of its products would be featured. So consistently for the next 5 years, from 2015, 2016, 2017, up to 2019, we were showcased on Google I/O for several innovations that we have done in technology. And in 2019, the Google team came from US and created a story about the company. Okay, so now when we are talking now, so this was the journey that happened. So from there, so we have a B2C business which is spanning to 40 million users across the globe in different apps, like different category of apps like food, fitness, and lifestyle in 160 countries and in 23 global languages. And we were partnered with Google, Apple, Sony, and Huawei for 20 plus early access programs. Early access programs means these are technology partnerships that these companies put forward to partner with companies who are in the forefront of innovation. Once they build it, then only they roll out to the general public. So we have partnered for such 20 plus programs. Okay, so this is the story, and now we have, like I said, this is the 40 million users. Uh, so when you look back, okay, so when I look back to the entire story, there are certain key takeaways in this entire story thing. So right now we have a B2B business also, which is an AI vertical, which is a dedicated AI vertical, where we have the AI assistant that is used by Federal Bank, which is called FEDI, is developed by ReaFi. Also, we have clients like Government of Kerala, also Estee Lauder companies in US. So now people, so after when we started, we had to wait 6 to 7 years for the companies to start leveraging AI and AI related applications. So we have a conversational AI chatbot in that segment. So I know that most of you are students. So ചേട്ടന്റെ കഥയൊക്കെ കേട്ടു. സോ ഇതിൽ എന്താണ്, വാട്ട് ഇസ് ദ കീ ടേക്ക് അവേ? സോ ഇതിലൊരു കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ there was a point of time when we had say 10 million users and we were just 6 founders. Okay, wait a sec. So ഒരു 2015-16 ടൈമിലായിരുന്നു. So we were just 6 founders. We didn't have any employees. So ആ സമയത്ത് we had around 10 million users. So we were responsible for 10 million users, and you know, most of these are content-based apps. So you need to cater content to these people. So one person is responsible for, say, or to say 1.5 to 2 million people, right? So ഇത്ര ആൾക്കാർ ഒരാള് ഹാൻഡിൽ ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ you need to do innovation, right? So there are 23 different languages. There are 160 countries. Each of them are getting different home content based on their use. So all these things has to be, so not just the content part. You need to do a entire, if you, any one of you have tried to release an app, you know, there are store listing. There's a process called store listing. So there are a lot of processing involved in just to make the product out in the market, right? So we had no other option, but we had to innovate. So being having that constraint of people at that point of time made us innovate. So innovation is one of the key. So whatever be your, say, business idea, you have to innovate. So it is not like you plan innovation at the starting itself. It's a mindset that when you encounter a problem, you have to innovate, then only you can move forward. So that is one key takeaway. The other thing is, you know, right after the college that we started, so this is the right time for most of you. You can start in the college itself. So start early is the next key takeaway. That worked for us. There might be a lot of other examples in the entrepreneurial journey of many big shots and people. So here what I'm trying to tell you is based on my story and what I have experienced. So I know that it makes more sense for me to share the truth that I have experienced rather than telling you something that I read from a book or somewhere, because it makes sense for people when I know that it is a truth that I'm talking. So the third thing is, when you might have listened to the story, and you might have heard that there are a lot of success things and things like that. But one truth is that the thing that you learn from your success is very minimal. Success is good. Like newspapers would write about it. Like you will come on the media, your family would be happy. The appreciation is always like give you morale booster to do well. But when you take just learning part, if there is a success, you learn a little. But if you fail in something over the course of time, there are several times at which we face the failures. The business lessons that we learned from that was always very critical, or very we learned it in depth, and we know that we will not forget it. So you should see whatever that don't work as experiences when you go for So my entire topic is from ideation to execution. So I wanted to share my story, and I want to pick the key takeaways so that it makes sense more for you rather than I am just telling you some concepts and trying to preach you what you have to do from ideation to execution, right? So these are the three key takeaways that uh, uh, we had. One is the innovation. So definitely, so innovation makes a lot of processes made streamlined. We extensively use artificial intelligence in the internal processes as well as for our external products. So even the not just on the technology side, it's basically the thought process. When we encounter a problem, we try to solve it in a better way. Uh, so again, start early, something that is applicable for everyone in the room. I think I would imagine most of you are younger to me, so and most of you are in the college, so it's really good to start early. The third thing is the success versus failure thing. The failure is not a right word even to use. It's basically the experience. If you tag it under failure, you have to fight with the emotion part. So better not to tag it accordingly. When you go for something, the best part is you try to do something, you know certain things. So this is a learning that you have to use for the next whatever venture or whatever thing that you're trying to do. Hope I'm making sense, guys. I don't know, because this is a difficult kind of a talk I have to carry, because I cannot see anyone's face. I'm seeing my face, and I'm telling something on the screen, but I am imagining it is making sense. If it is making sense, you could type something on the comment box. It is doesn't make sense, ചേട്ടാ മനസ്സിലാവണില്ല. Whatever that is, you can just type it so that I can continue. Okay, all right, at least I got one response. Thank you, guys. All right, so questions in the sense, it is not like the questions that you can ask me, but now I am asking you questions. Like how many of you in the room have that uh, most of them haven't expressed the interest of, what do you say, being an entrepreneur? So I would imagine most of you would be thinking of getting into a job, maybe. If that's the case, how many of you have the concern whether I'll get a job or not? Can you type? If you have a concern, you can type yes. എനിക്കൊരു ജോലി കിട്ടുമോ എന്നുള്ള കൺസേൺ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ you can type yes. If there's no concern, you can type no. I am sure that I can get a job. So if you have a concern of getting a job, then you can type yes. If you don't have a concern of getting a job, you can type no. Okay, I get one yes. Okay. All right. So the concern ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ I would say ആ കൺസേൺ നിങ്ങൾ മാറ്റി വെച്ചോ. The reason why, ഒരു അമേരിക്കയിൽ പഠിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സ്റ്റുഡന്റിന്റെ അടുത്ത് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ if he or she is saying this, I can understand. Okay. But when it's coming from students from India, India is a developing country. There are a lot of things that need to be fixed in this country. So definitely there will be more job opportunities for the next coming years. Even though there are a lot of technological advancements, all those coming, there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, from waste management to say n number of problems is there in our country. So it is not yet solved. So this is a concern for an American student, not for an Indian student, because our country has a lot of things that need to be fixed. So the good thing is that you can be happy anyway. You will be getting the job, or you can find the job, because there are a lot of things that need to be fixed in the country. Okay. So then comes my next question. Who's the smartest in this room? I would say in this session. Do you think I am the smartest, or the teacher that introduced me, she is smart? Whom you think the smart one in the room? I don't know if it's internal marks of but anyways, the truth and the answer is that it's not me or teacher or anyone, it's you, the younger ones. I'm not trying to say uh, pamper you with some say you are the smartest and coming you and telling you some compliments and going. It's an evolutionary truth if you believe in all the Darwinian principle where people are evolving constantly. It's a truth also, like because it took us like around millions of years to transform from monkey to human. So humans are evolving. Only 500 years before only we started the scientific revolution. We are still evolving. So the whichever generation that coming next is more smarter. They have an evolved brain. They're using it or not is a different question. But the smarter one in the room is you guys who are listening to me. So uh, the key thing is that uh, if you are the smartest, then how you would approach a problem and how you're going to solve it, right? So this is one thing that I wanted to touch upon after the entire story, after asking these questions. The question that I asked just before, who's the smartest? Uh, the reason being, the work culture have changed a lot, right? So uh, if you don't know, it has, because നിങ്ങളുടെ പാരൻസിനോട് ചോദിച്ചാൽ they might be, at least not everyone, but at least a few of them, if they get a government job or a steady job, they were ready to take, say, uh, 2 years bond, 3 years bond, 5 years bond, up to 20 years of bond. Okay. Bond is like a contract that you sign that you will be staying in that company. Okay. If you don't know. പക്ഷേ when we try to recruit people, so we know that there's a drastic change that has happened. Like even if you ask people to stick for say 6 months or 1 year, people are skeptical because they know that there are a lot of opportunities out there in the world. They don't want to miss out on that. So being the smartest uh, generation, the one thing that we have learned or we try to keep in our company is that uh, this is what happens. So initially I was talking about the ideation part, how we did the ideation to the product to the market, all those things was there in the story. Then ideation to the last part is the execution, how you execute things. So in that, this is a critical thing. So that's the whole connection of the context and what I am talking about. So uh, it's important to create a happy work ambience. Okay, it's very important to create a happy work ambience. So this is uh, uh, so why? Because if you want to bring out the best out of people, especially from the current generation of people, you should create a happy work atmosphere. You cannot give deadlines or say pressure for them to perform. If you want them to perform, you want to create a happy ambience. So this is something that we believe at the core, and we know that it's not just believing, we experience the same. Okay. So at our company, we always try to keep this thing. And also we have a policy if, on the HR side where we give whatever leave that people are asking for. The only condition is that getting things done. That if you have a plan, say, to do something on a certain day, uh, being the smart people, you know that this is something that need to be done on this day. So there are certain things that I have to complete before that. So or after that. So if it is not, you might be knowing the Eisenhower principle that what is important and urgent, what is important but not urgent, what is urgent but not important, what is not urgent and not important. So basically, we have a system like that for the kind of things that you want to do on a day. So all important and urgent things has to be met because it might have deadlines, timelines, as well as importance. So significance as well. So these things we'll always try to finish off fast. Something that is important but urgent but not important, we try to delegate. If it is important and not urgent, then we try to do it for the next day. If it is not important and not urgent, then try not to do it. Or at some point of time when you have nothing to do, you can do it. So the whole point here I am trying to say is, I started from the giving deadlines and making them work or applying pressure. That's not going to work for the next set of generation. If you want to execute things, you have to create a happy work ambience, and then only people will be ready to give their best, and then only you can bring out the best outcome. So that is one thing. So handling the smartest generation in the planet is something that if you are trying to build a team also, this is something that you have to keep in mind. It includes you also. The second thing is that in our company we have mostly freshers, of not just freshers, I would say. uh, I won't say use the word freshers, but people with an average age of 25 to 30. Okay. So why is because it is easy to learn than unlearn. If you have, say, a set of people who already know things to do in a certain way, it's not easy to make them unlearn that and try to teach something new. So at least from the starting, when we try to build the team from 6 people, now we are a team of 80. So in this growth, these are things that I have learned. So if you're planning to execute, I'm not touching on your idea. It can be starting a boutique to starting a cake shop to anything. Okay. So whatever that is, it will, you can suit these thoughts into it is. I'm trying to give you those high level thoughts which is relevant to any industry. I'm not trying to put it on the specific industry of my own, but which is the technology space. But I want to give you a general perspective on whatever be the business that you are trying to run, certain things that would help you to take the right decisions and the right executions. Okay. So that is about the culture part. So how you build a team. So this is a question. So initially we try to hire people. We try to give them a package. So this is the outward, the process looks like this. But the company from the story, that this is 6 friends started a company. It took us like almost 6 years to hire the first person. So the company evolved like a family. The culture that company has got a family. So we have a close net of people who know each other, who try to help out each other. And this is the kind of culture that we are trying to inculcate in the company. And there are people who try to fit in this culture only can come and join to the company. So the fact that I want to put forward is everyone might not fit into your company. Or in other words, everyone might not fit into your culture. It's important to find people who fit into your culture. For that, you have to figure out what is the culture of your company. So culture might not happen on the first day when you start a company. So if you ask me this question, like when I started the company, I don't know what my company's culture is. So it actually evolved over the time. Now we know what is the culture of the company, what sort of people that we can come and fit into this. Okay. Uh, all right. So that is about building the team and why culture is very important. Again, the work ambience that I was talking about. So these are things that very important when you come to run a company, or at least the things that I think that is important from our experience. Okay. Okay. So these are two things that I want to, before we uh, say end the session, uh, I want to touch upon this part. So being from ideation to execution. Okay. So I've shared the story, how we started, how we became the India's largest app studio, created India's largest recipe app and world's third largest platform. Then we moved to the B2B business, different business sectors. So uh, so one thing that we know, that the things won't be the same in the next 10 years also. It just keeps on changing. So we would like to get people. So these are two mindsets that we want every entrepreneur to have, or even their team to have. I would put it in that way. So one is that from we would prefer people who are practicing than preaching. If someone talk about entrepreneurship, talk about a lot of things, uh, they might have read about a lot of things, but they might not have done it. So I would prefer a person who done and failed something rather than someone who just talk about it. Okay. So that is the whole gist of it. So try to do things rather than thinking about those things or talking about those things. I would say just do it, like Nike's ad says, just do it. ഇത് ചെയ്തു നോക്കുക, early ചെയ്തു. The reason why is why you can do it, so it makes sense for you when you are in college, because once you move out of the college, you have more responsibilities that would come in. You might have to take care of a family maybe, or so these kind of things will reduce your proximity to risk. You see this as a risk. Starting as a venture is never short of an adventure. So it is like an adventurous ride. You should take it like that. So lighthearted should not go for it. It will be an adventure. You will be facing obstacles at every point, every checkpoint, milestone. But you should see it as an opportunity to learn, or you see it as an adventure. That's how you will run a venture. Okay. So what I'm saying is, it's always good to practice, do things than preaching. Okay. So that is one mindset that an entrepreneur would really hold. Other thing is the knowing versus knowledge thing. So this is important. Right now it might not seem to be very significant, but it is significant. It will be significant. The entire AI thing that is happening. If you want to know about something, you will Google it before asking it to any teacher or calling someone and asking. You first Google it. I would imagine that's the case. So the information is available on internet. It is easy to extract. There are a lot of junk and all, but still it is moving to a content discovery, and all other things is going to be get evolved in the next 10 years. So the further consequence would be that if you know certain things, say if you are a PhD scholar, you know a subject in depth, okay, it might not have a much of a value in the coming years, because an intelligent system can do it, right? If you ask a question, the information is somewhere, you can get it. But the art of knowing, the urge to know, or the urge to seek, this is what something that we want an entrepreneur to have. They have the habit of knowing rather than the knowledge, because you can get the knowledge in the coming, even now and in the coming years, you will have access to the knowledge. But the culture of knowing, or the mindset of knowing, is what an entrepreneur should have. So if you're planning from ideation to execution, there is no single book or a single mantra or a single thing that you can learn and just do it. This is an experience. This is a journey. So these are two faculties that you should have. Do things and have the mindset of knowing. So this is something that I have learned from my experience in my entrepreneurial journey. So for this session, I just wanted to be very candid with you guys. I don't know whether it have made any value or any sense for you. I truly don't know, but I'm trying to be very honest in my session. I've presented the truth that I've experienced in a very similar possible way. So I would call this entire thing as perception. The perception is very important, because if you have the right perception towards things, things will fall. So you should work on the perception if you want to be an entrepreneur, from taking a product from ideation to execution. So that's how I put it, the entire thing. So now I think it's 5 o'clock. It's time. If you have any questions, I am happy to take it. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to me in this fine evening.
സർ ഫസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തപ്പോ എങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു അതിന്റെ റിസ്ക് മാനേജ്മെന്റ് ചെയ്ത്?
ഫസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തപ്പോ
സാറിന്റെ റിസ്ക് എന്തായിരുന്നു? അപ്പൊ ഫസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് സാറിന്റെ
ഫുൾ റിസ്ക് ആയിരുന്നു. ആകെ റിസ്കിൽ ഒരു കുറവുണ്ടായിരുന്നത്, ഇതൊന്നും വർക്ക് ചെയ്തില്ലെങ്കിൽ ജോലിക്ക് പോകുന്നുള്ളത് മാത്രമായിരുന്നു. ഓക്കെ, പ്ലേസ്മെന്റ്സ് കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. സോ എവിടെയെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ജോലിക്ക് കയറാന്നുള്ളത് മാത്രമായിരുന്നു ആ റിസ്കിൽ കുറച്ച് കുറവ്. പിന്നെ വീട്ടിലും ഒരു മിഡിൽ എന്തായാലും പറയണേ, ഒരു മിഡിൽ ക്ലാസ് ഫാമിലി ആയിരുന്നു. സോ മറ്റേ ദാരിദ്ര്യത്തിലേക്ക് എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. ഐ മീൻ, so these were the two factors that reduced the risk. What was the risk is that we only had that യങ് ആയിരിക്കുമ്പോഴുള്ള ഇതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വി ഹാവ് ദാറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കാണിക്കണം മറ്റേ സാധനം ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, അതായത് എന്താ ചോരത്തിളപ്പെന്നോ whatever that is said, that being that very young, vibrant, young people. So we know that our technology is something good, very solid. So we wanted to somehow figure it out. അന്ന് വേറൊരു റിസ്ക് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, അതിപ്പോ പറയണത് ശരിയാണെന്ന് എനിക്ക് അറിയില്ല, മറ്റേ അന്ന് കാലത്ത് ഒരു സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പുകാരനാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താ മാരേജ് മാർക്കറ്റിൽ പോലും ഒരു വിലയില്ലാത്തൊരു സമയമായിരുന്നു. ഓക്കെ, സോ ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് ദ ഓണസ്റ്റ് ഫാക്ട് അബൌട്ട് ദാറ്റ് ടൈം. നൗ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് വെരി ഡിഫറെന്റ്. ലൈക്ക് പീപ്പിൾ ആക്സെപ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്സ് ഓർ കമ്പനീസ്. അതൊക്കെ ഇപ്പൊ ഒരു എന്താ പറയാ ഒരു സ്റ്റൈൽ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെന്റ് ഒക്കെയാണ്. മേ ബി യു ഫൈൻഡ് ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് എന്താ പറയാ ടിൻഡർ പ്രൊഫൈൽസ് അപ്ഡേറ്റഡ് വിത്ത് സെയിങ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് ദിസ് തിങ് ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് തിങ്. ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് നോട്ട് ദ കേസ് ബാക്ക് ദെൻ. സോ എന്താ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ 360 ഡിഗ്രി നോക്കിയാലും റിസ്ക് ഒക്കെ തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. വൺ തിങ് അന്ന് നമുക്കൊരു വി ടുക്ക് ദാറ്റ് റിസ്ക്. കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചു. നൺ ഓഫ് us had business acumen. നമുക്ക് ബിസിനസ് തീരെ അറിയില്ലായിരുന്നു ഈവൻ. സോ ഐ വാസ് ദ വൺ ഹു സപ്പോസ് ടു ഹാവ് ദാറ്റ് ബിക്കോസ് ഐ വാസ് ദ മാർക്കറ്റിംഗ് ഹെഡ്, ഐ വാസ് ദ ചീഫ് മാർക്കറ്റിംഗ് ഓഫീസർ. അപ്പൊ ഞങ്ങള് പക്ഷെ കുറച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി എന്താ പൈസ വീട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് അങ്ങനെ എപ്പോഴും ചോദിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. വി നീഡ് ടു generate revenue from your product. So till now we haven't raised any investments. Our productsന്റെ പ്രോഫിറ്റ്സ് തന്നെയാണ് നമ്മൾ റൺ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ഇത് ഞാൻ തുടക്കത്തിലേ പഠിച്ചൊരു ലെസൺ ആയിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ റിസ്കിന്റെ കാര്യം ചോദിക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ എന്താ പറയാ ചുറ്റുപാടും റിസ്ക് തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. ബട്ട് ദ ഹയസ്റ്റ് റിസ്ക് അതിലെന്തായിരുന്നിരിക്കും? I cannot take anything. മറ്റേ അന്ന് നമുക്ക് ഇത് ഈഗോ ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള സമയമായിരുന്നുകൊണ്ട് ചിലപ്പോ ഇത് ശരിയായില്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താവുന്നുള്ളൊരു പ്രശ്നമൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഓക്കെ, സോ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഓവർ ദ ടൈം ഇറ്റ് ചേഞ്ച്ഡ് ഹൗ വി സീ തിങ്സ് ആൻഡ് ഹൗ വി സീ കോമ്പറ്റീഷൻസ്, എവറിഥിങ് ഹാവ് ചേഞ്ച്ഡ്. ബട്ട് യാ, ഐ തിങ്ക് എവ്രിവെയർ ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ റിസ്ക് ബ്രോ ഫോർ ആൻസറിങ് ദാറ്റ്. ചുറ്റും റിസ്ക് ആയിരുന്നു.
താങ്ക് യു സർ.
Have you got any VC funding?
Okay, I have answered that. Like, we haven't raised any funding so far. We were approached with multiple VCs in the initial stages also. So the thing about funding is that you should have a very solid plan to either in the initial stage, either for seed capital you approach. I would say VC for a scaling stage. Otherwise, you need a high initial investment. So for running our things, we didn't need any high investments on that sort. And we tried to pool our initial amount by doing an online project, and we got the payment for that, and that's what we used for the filing of patents and all. So answering to your question, no, we haven't raised any VC funding. So VC funding is required, what I think is, when you want to scale up the business. At that point of time, you'll have a scale plan. For that, you don't have the capital. Okay, at that point of time, VC funds comes handy. Otherwise, they should be helping you in growth in some way or the other. Usually, VC funds don't take their proactive role in growing your company. They put $10 and try to take $1,000, and that has to happen. Your plan should have that. At least we don't have a plan at any point of time to do that. We think that the market is very volatile. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയാലോ, VC ഫണ്ട്സിൽ ഇടുന്നത് സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് സക്സസ്ഫുൾ തന്നെയാണ്. ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എ പ്രൊപ്പോർഷണൽ ടു സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് സക്സസ്. Out of 100, maybe 1 or 2 might be successful. Other 98 would be flop or go out. So that is not the reason why we haven't raised. That we have a different business model, I would say. But at some point of time, we might raise, and it is required. Okay.
Do you have any future plan of taking this into initial public offer and listing, making it a listed company?
Right. We have that. We have a very active thought on that. Because of that, we have kept our all the books and everything very clean, like the financial thought. Passed on that. There are certain what do you say, criteria to be met. So yeah, that is also one of the plans to go for IPO.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So I don't wanted to keep it very technical. The reason being is when it's online, I'm not sure. I won't listen to a technical session online, to be honest. So I am, if I don't do it, I don't expect these people to come and listen to a technical session. But if there is anything that you can take, if you're planning to start a company from the entire story, I would be more than glad. Thank you. Sure, 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 sure. Thank you.